Live from the BDN Studios, it's Bang and Dang.
That's awesome.
If you don't like that, then
You ain't black.
All right, here we go again. Back one more time. Well, yeah, one more time for Outlaws Gunslingers Serial Killer Edition. This time, we've covered one Freeway Killer. And now we're covering another one who was operating around the same time as old William Bonin, the other Freeway Killer. This one's Randy Kraft. He's also known as the Scorecard Killer, the Southern California Strangler, and the Freeway Killer. Yeah, and there's also another guy on here that was killing on the freeway, dumping his people on the freeway as well at the same time in the same area, dude. California was crazy in the 70s and 80s. Well, Randy Kraft, between 1972 and 83, he raped, tortured, murdered at least 16 young men in California, though it's believed he could be linked to as many as 67.
that'd be crazy.
As we speak, right now, he is on death row and San Quentin, and he's been there since 1989, so go figure on that one. Huh?
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. He was born in Long Beach, March 19th, 1945. Grew up in a modest family, the only boy with three older sisters of Opal Lee and Harold Herbert Kraft. So daddy worked at Douglas Aircraft, and his mom juggled jobs as a seamstress and school cook to help make ends meet. And they moved to Midway City in Orange County when Randy was young and lived in a converted women's Army Corps dorm. His mom was really involved in their church and the PTA. Well, his dad, he couldn't give a shit. He didn't really enjoy doing family stuff.
Yeah, what are you going to do?
And Randy was a bit accident-prone as a kid, but his mom and sisters liked him, at least.
Right.
Apparently.
They're smitten of him. Well,
There's not really much about his childhood. Like, he didn't seem to be like a messed up child.
that happens sometimes, right? Kraft, he was very bright in school, skipping ahead to accelerated classes by junior high. He was in politics as a teen. He was a big Republican who dreamed of becoming a United States senator. He even started a World Affairs club in high school.
Nerd.
Right. Everyone saw him as a smart, pleasant guy who got straight A's and even dated girls, though some suspected he was a little queer.
Yeah.
He later admitted he knew he was homosexual in high school, but he kept it under wraps.
Yeah, it can't be that in 1970 or 60s, whatever it is now.
Ain't happening.
After graduating near the top of his class in 63, he went to Claremont Men's College to study economics. There, he joined the ROTC, or the
ROTC.
Right. And got caught up in the Vietnam War demonstrations and Barry Goldwater's campaign. You guys don't remember him. He was a presidential candidate. Though he later said he was just mimicking his parents' views, describing his second year at Claremont as being when he abandoned the last gasp of his conservative ideology. By his sophomore year, guess what? He starts to shift, embraced his sexuality, and he leaned liberal.
Of course.
He had his first known relationship with a guy and began bartending at a gay-friendly lounge in Garden Grove, hooking up with hustlers in Laguna and Huntington Beach. That's probably the two best places for it.
Yeah, good for him, right? In an apparent tentative effort to reveal his sexual orientation to his parents, Kraft, he took a succession of male friends to meet his family during his years at Claremont. Initially, Kraft's parents and sisters were oblivious to his homosexuality. In 1966, he got arrested for propositioning an undercover cop, but he dodged the charges since it was his first offense. By 1967, he was all in on liberal politics, campaigning hard for Robert F. Kennedy and becoming a Democratic organizer. He supposedly even received a letter from RFK thanking him for his efforts.
My fellow American.
His senior year, though, he slacked off, drinking, drugs, gambling all night long. He even failed a class and didn't even graduate until February of 1968. Damn.
A few months later, still, at least he graduated, though, I guess. Huh?
Sure.
Well, right after college, he joined the Air Force, stationed at Edwards Air Force Base. He rose to Airman First Class, supervising plane painting. Watching paint dry.
All right.
1968, he came out to his family. His dad, he was furious, but his mom was more accepting, and they stayed close. Although his siblings says that he begins to distance himself from his family after he disclosed his sexuality to him.
Right. Don't feel right.
In 1969, he told his superiors he was gay, and he got discharged on medical grounds after just 13 months.
Can't do that. Don't ask, don't tell, motherfucker.
Well, he fought the charge, but the Air Force, they refused to change the status of his discharge, so he had to tuck his tail between his legs and go back home to be a bartender.
1970, Kraft, he lured a 13-year-old runaway named Joseph Fancer to his apartment. He promised them that he could live with him And he goes, you know what? I'll even, you can get some sex with a woman. See that girl over there? I know her. And Fancher was like, hell yeah. But there was no woman for him. After getting to Kraft's apartment, the boy was drugged and sexually assaulted multiple times. We heard this before.
Right.
Hours later, Fancher escaped after Kraft left to go to work. A member of the public, alarmed by Fancher's drugged and disheveled condition, they called an ambulance. Fancher's stomach needed to be pumped.
Messed up.
Damn, at the very hospital that he went to, Fancher informed the Popo that Kraft had given him drugs and then beat him. He did not disclose to either his parents or the Popo that he had been sexually assaulted due to the shame and fearing no one would believe him.
Well, the apartment was then searched, but because there wasn't a warrant for the search, and Fancher admitted to taking the drugs willingly, no charges were filed against Kraft.
Oh, wow.
By 1971, Kraft, he's working as a forklift driver and studying education at Long Beach State, where he meets his old pal, Jeff Graves, who was a younger student he started dating.
Good for him, right?
Not in a relationship.
Well, then we're going to have like a little 12-year span here from 71 to 1983. Kraft, he believed that killed 67 young men, mostly teens and in their 20s, including a lot of Marines.
Yeah.
Wow. He'd lure them into his car with offers of a ride or booze. He'd drug them. He'd tie them up. He'd torture them. And then he'd kill them, usually by strangling or beating. Most of their bodies were found to have high levels of both alcoholic beverages and tranquilizers, indicating that they had been unconscious when they were abused and killed.
Most of them. We'll get to one sick murder from this guy.
Many were burned with cigarette lighters, mutilated, or had objects inserted in their rectums. He dumped their bodies along freeways, often in Southern California, though he also killed in Oregon and, of course, Michigan.
What is it with these guys going to Michigan?
It's insane.
His first known victim was Wayne Duquette, who was a 30-year-old Long Beach bartender. His nude body was found on October 5th, 1971, near the Ortega Highway. His cause of death was listed as alcohol poisoning, though in Kraft's journal, which would later become his scorecard, it was found after his arrest, it had stable written as the first entry, which tied him to the gay bar where Duquette worked.
Uh-oh. Man, you can't leave its thing like that, man.
He did.
Jeez. Late 1972, he killed Edward Moore.
Oh, shit.
A Marine dumped off the 405 freeway, beaten and garroted. Bite marks all over his body, a sock stuffed in his ass.
Yep.
Moore was last seen leaving the Camp Pendleton on December 24th, with his body being found in early hours of the 26th of December. Damn, dude missed Christmas. Son of a bitch.
He was probably going somewhere for Christmas, I would assume.
I wonder who got his presents. He had multiple cuts and scrapes on his body, which led the Popo to believe that he was pushed out of a moving vehicle. After this, bodies started to pile up. Many with similar signs: bound, drugged, tortured, tossed by roads.
Yeah, because about 6 weeks after Moore, the body of an unidentified male was found February 6th, 1973. He was estimated between 17 and 25 years old. It was found on the side of the Terminal Island Freeway in Wilmington. Just like Moore, this victim had been strangled. He also had a sock stuffed up his rectum.
Gee.
We'll find out why here in a little bit.
Wow. 14th of April in that same year of 1973. For 17-year-old Kevin Bailey's body discovered by a road in Huntington Beach. Many of the same signs occurred in this murder, although Bailey had been emasculated and sodomized prior to his murder.
No, taking a little step further, are we?
Wow. After this murder, 2 more bodies discovered. The first was an unidentified younger male found in Wilmington on the 22nd of April. The second was a 20-year-old Ronnie Weeb on the 30th of July. His body was disposed of near an on-ramp of the 405 freeway. This is 2 days after he disappeared.
Well, he takes a little law in his killings because we go all the way to December 29th of the same year. That's where the body of 23-year-old art student Vincent Messas, his body was found in the San Bernardino Mountains. Well, like the others, he had one of his own socks shoved in his rectum. His hands were severed, never found. This is the last known victim of 1973 for old Slicky Robert Kraft here. Robert Kraft, sorry. Right. Sorry, Robert. Old Randy Kraft.
Through November of 1974, 5 more bodies were found close to major roads in Southern Cal. Conclusive evidence places 3 of the murders by the same person. 20-year-old Malcolm Little and 19-year-old James Reeves. They were both found next to a freeway with objects inserted in their ass. The third body, 18-year-old Marine Roger Dickerson, revealed the same modus operandi as the others.
Yeah, it's a trend. 17-year-old John Liras, he was last seen boarding a bus in Long Beach, after which Kraft abducted and murdered him on January 3rd, 1975. His body found the next day on Sunset Beach with evidence of strangulation and with a foreign object sticking out of his anus. There's a little twist to this one, though, because his investigation at the beach revealed drag marks along the beach close to his body, which led police to believe that two people had carried Liras' body and left him on the beach.
Really?
Yeah.
Uh-oh. 2 weeks later, 21-year-old Craig Janitis, he was found near the Pacific Coast Highway in the parking lot of the Golden Sails Hotel on the 17th of January. He was strangled to death with what investigators said was a piece of string, possible a shoelace. Wow. Jeez. By 1975, the Popo linked 14 victims to one murderer, describing him as a smart, organized predator. All victims were white males with similar characteristics. And the FBI profile of the killer described him as a lust killer who exhibited no care for the interests and welfare of society.
He didn't care. He just wanted to get his fix.
They suspected a military connection since some bodies had tissue in their noses and socks in their ass, which was a trick to stop purging.
Can't be bleeding out while I'm transferring your body.
All right. Due to the drag marks found on the beach in Laris, some investigators believe there was more than one person involved, but nevertheless, at this stage, there were no solid suspects.
Well, it doesn't matter because Randy Kraft, he keeps killing. March 29th, 1975, he pulls into a Long Beach parking lot in his Ford Mustang. Then he convinced two young guys, Keith Crotwell and Kent May, to hop in. He offered them beer and Valium, then started driving around Belmont Shore and Seal Beach, just wandering with no clear destination. Kent, he later said the mix of Valium and booze hit him hard. Felt totally out of it, almost catatonic, before he blacked out completely.
Ooh, that's not cool. And he still survived it, huh? Mm-hmm. Wow. Well, in that same parking lot, a couple of friends of Keith and Kent, they noticed this distinctive black and white Mustang roll up. The driver stopped. He leaned over, opened the passenger door, and shoved Kent, who was unconscious but otherwise okay. He said, "Get out of my car." Then the guy floored it and took off. As he sped away, the friend saw Keith slumped against the driver's shoulder in the front seat.
About 6 weeks later, May 8th, Keith's skull was found on a jetty near the Long Beach Marina.
Wow.
The rest of his body, it turned up 6 months after that. When the friends heard about Keith's death, they were convinced the killer hung out at a gay bar in Belmont Shore. So they were some good friends, and they started looking around their neighborhood for the Mustang. Sure enough, they found it about less than a mile from their place, got the license plate, and handed it over to the Popos.
I take it when he had the other Kent guy, too. Two of them was just too much. Couldn't handle two guys at once.
Or maybe the Kent guy wasn't his type.
Right. Well, they gave the info to the police, and the police found that it was registered to a Randy Kraft. And on the 19th of May, Long Beach police, they brought Kraft in to ask him about Keith's abduction and murder. At first, he flat out denied ever meeting Keith or Kent. Cops weren't buying it. They hauled him into the station for more questioning. While he was at the station, Kraft changed the story multiple times. He admitted he'd met the two guys in the parking lot that night and got them drunk. And they took some Valium with him while he drove around town. He said he dropped Kent back off at the lot, which he did. And then he drove with Keith to some side road near the El Toro off-ramp. You shouldn't have said that.
According to him, he got his car stuck on an embankment. So he left Keith with the car, walked alone to a gas station to call for a tow truck. He says when he got back, Keith was gone. Kraft's roommate backed up this part of the story, confirming Kraft had called him that night about his car being stuck. But the detectives still weren't convinced. The next week, they tried to get homicide charges filed against him, but the L.A. District Attorney's Office wouldn't go for it.
Well, they didn't have enough evidence.
The coroner had looked at Keith's skull, which at this time, the body hadn't been found, and they ruled the death an accidental drowning.
All fucked up on Valium and shit.
How do you accidentally drown, but your skull's not with your body? And his skull was completely decomposed, or his shit was completely decomposed by the time they... Wait a minute. May 8th? March, April, I guess a month and plus would do it.
It probably only take about a week, really.
It is California, salty water, I guess. I don't know.
Well, maybe due to the close call with the last murder, Kraft, he didn't kill again until the last day of 1975 when he abducted 22-year-old Mark Hall in San Juan Capistrano. Prosecutors later called this Kraft's worst known murder.
Yeah.
And it's not hard to see why. He took Hall to some remote canyon, tied him to a tree. What happened next was horrific. The autopsy showed Hall died from asphyxiation, his trachea packed with leaves and dirt, choking him to death. But that wasn't it. Hall was sodomized, his genitals cut off, stuffed into his ass.
Jeez.
His chest, scrotum, nose, and cheeks were burned with this car cigarette lighter. Kraft also used to burn out his eyes. Oh, shit.
Jeez.
There were also a bunch of cuts on Hall's legs, made with a broken bottle. But, worst of all, forensic experts said Hall was alive for most of this nightmare. Oh, no.
What made him do that? It's escalating quickly with this guy. But then he goes right back to his regulars.
Jeez.
Well, 1976, after ending his relationship with Graves, he started dating Jeff Seelig, who was a young baker, and moved to Laguna Hills with him. They supposedly had an open relationship, sometimes picking up hitchhikers together. But Seelig said Kraft was never violent with him. Didn't matter because Kraft's murders, at this point, maybe due to the relationship, his murder slowed during this period with gaps of months or even a year between his victims.
Look at that. The next known killing tied to Kraft happened on the 10th of December, 1976. The victim, 19-year-old Paul Joseph Futches. He vanished. His body never found. But Futch's name shows up on Kraft's scorecard, so it's obvious he did it.
Clearly.
He was last seen outside a Long Beach gay bar called Ripples, a spot Kraft was known to hang out.
Then things go quiet for a while again, 16 months to be exact.
Okay.
Kraft, he doesn't seem to kill again until January of 1978, which on January 3rd, homicide investigators get together to figure out where they're at with the manhunt for this unidentified killer.
Wow.
By now, they're starting to realize they've got more than one murderer on their hands. Yeah. It's back in July of 1977, police nabbed Patrick Kearney, who admitted to killing 28 boys and young men.
It's fucking insane, dude.
His murders were a little more gruesome, though. He dismembered them and dumped the parts in trash bags along freeways in Southern California.
Wow.
He's the other supposed freeway killer.
Right. Patrick Kearney, huh?
Yeah, we'll get to him soon.
Yeah. But here's the thing, though. Kraft's methods, they didn't even line up with Kearney's. Kraft sometimes dismembered his victims, but he didn't shoot them in the temple like Kearney did. And Kearney, he didn't even torture his victims, which was something Kraft was known for.
Clearly two different people we got here.
Their approaches were just too different to be the same. So investigators were stumped. Like, what are we going to do? We're hunting for two different serial killers.
Yeah.
And no evidence for either one.
Well, Kearney's already turned himself in. April 16th, Kraft targeted an 18-year-old Marine named Scott Michael Hughes. He got Hughes to take some Valium. Then it got even more horrific. He then slit open his scrotum, removed one of his testicles, strangled him with a ligature. After that, he dumped Hughes' fully clothed body, minus his shoelaces, right by a freeway on-ramp in Anaheim.
Jeez.
Yeah, so he likes to use shoelaces.
Well, let's go fast forward 2 months to June 11th. Another body turned up near San Diego Freeway. 23-year-old Roland Gerald Young. He'd been emasculated, stabbed to death. The abrasions on his body suggested he was pushed out of his fast-moving car. Then, just 8 days later, 19th of June, 20-year-old Marine Richard Allen Keith was found dead beside Moulton Parkway. He'd last been seen alive by his girlfriend in Carson. His wrist had welts, showing he had been tied up before being strangled with a ligature. There was a froth in his throat, a sign he was drowning in his own fluids from a mix of fluorazepam and alcohol when he died. And once again, on Kraft's scorecard, Keith is likely the one listed as Marine Carson.
I would assume so.
Makes sense.
Well, 3 weeks after Keith's murder, July 6th, Kraft went after 23-year-old hitchhiker Keith Klingbeil. What's up with the Keiths? Right. He got a guy, his last name was Keith, and now two first guys. He fed Keith a lethal combo of acetaminophen and alcohol, and strangled him with his own shoelace. Kraft, he dumped his body by the Interstate 5 freeway. When Keith was found, he was still alive, but died soon after getting to Mission Community Hospital. An autopsy showed that before the strangulation, Kraft had burned his left nipple with a car cigarette lighter. What is this guy, dude?
Holy shit.
Jeez.
I'd like to know there's no head trauma with this guy. He didn't get molested as a child or anything like that.
That's what I'm saying. It was a normal guy, and then
Holy shit.
he turned liberal.
That's what happens. Fuck. 2 months later, 29th of September, 20-year-old Richard Anthony Crosby's body found 200 yards north of Highway 71 in San Bernardino. Crosby vanished the day before. He was hitchhiking home from a theater in Torrance. He's been suffocated, his left nipple mutilated with a cigarette lighter, just like Klingbeil.
Yeah.
And then on the 18th of November, Kraft's last known victim, 1978, was 21-year-old Long Beach truck driver Michael Joseph Inderbeaton. His castrated body was found along an on-ramp to the I-605. He'd been violated with a foreign object, suffered burns similar to a victim from a couple years earlier named Mark Hall, and he died from suffocation.
Dude, he's dumping him on on-ramps. Like, how likely is it that nobody's seen this?
Yeah, that's insane. This is like 3 a.m.
Well, I guess. But it's in freaking California, dude.
Right.
Oh, Crafty then went quiet for another little while, but he soon struck again June 16th, 1979. This time it was 20-year-old Marine Donnie Harold Crizzle. His body was thrown from a moving vehicle onto the 405 freeway.
Damn.
The official cause of death for him was acute alcohol poisoning, but rope marks and burns showed he'd been bound and tortured before being dumped.
Shit.
Good Lord.
2 months later, 29th of August, dismembered remains of 21-year-old English tourist Keith
What's up with this?
Anthony Jackson. They were found in Long Beach. It was stuffed in 2 trash bags and a cardboard box behind a Union 76 gas station.
Now, that's the other guy's modus operandi.
Right.
He's already in jail.
A sock was lodged in his ass, so there's that. Only his head, torso, and left leg were ever recovered. And he'd been dead for days. Kraft's scorecard likely refers to him as either England or 76. 2 weeks after that, 14th September, 19-year-old Gregory Wallace Jolly's body.
Wasn't jolly anymore.
Yeah, he was found in Lake Arrowhead. Oh, now he's in the lake. He'd been emasculated. His head and legs were cut off after death. Now he's cutting heads off. Some of his possessions later turned up in Kraft's home. Oh,
Undeniable.
Ooh.
Jeez, November 24th, 1979, 15-year-old Jeffrey Sayer from Santa Ana is believed to have been abducted and killed by Kraft. He was last seen at the Westminster bus stop near Kraft's parents' house, heading home from a date. Oh, hope he got lucky, bud.
Right.
Scorecard entry, Westminster date, probably points to him. Then, February 18th, 1980, the decapitated body of 19-year-old Marine Mark Allen Marsh. He was found near Templin Highway. He'd been hitchhiking toward Buena Park when he disappeared, and his hands were also severed after his death.
Jeez. Man.
Well, that summer, Kraft, he went to Oregon for a long business trip, staying near Portland before heading back to California in August. But while in Portland, he's believed to kill 2 people there, which are both noted on his scorecard with references to Portland. July 17th, he murdered 17-year-old Michael Sean O'Fallon from Denver. He was hitchhiking across the U.S. and Canada before starting college. Poor guy. O'Fallon, he was given alcohol, Valium, then strangled. His nude, hog-tied body is dumped 10 miles south of Salem.
Son of a bitch. His camera, marked with his mom's initials, was later found in Kraft's garage. Scorecard lists him as Portland, Denver. The next day, Kraft likely killed a man aged between 35 and 45. Ooh. He was found by a freeway in Woodburn. This guy, he was listed as Portland Elk on the old scorecard. He had toxic levels of Valium, Tylenol in his system, and he was strangled.
Back in California. September 3rd, 1980, the bound body of 19-year-old Marine Robert Loggins, no relation to Kenny.
Right.
He was found in a trash bag near the El Toro Marine Air Base.
Oh, shit.
He'd been seen alive August 23rd by 2 fellow Marines near the Pacific Coast Highway. Photos and negatives found in Kraft's possession showed Loggins in Kraft's living room, fully clothed and seemingly drunk on a sofa, as well as in nude, pornographic poses with his eyes closed.
Oh.
It's unclear if he was alive or dead when those pictures were taken.
You can't tell with the picture. 10th of April, year 1981. 17-year-old Michael Klux. His body, it was found beside Interstate 5 near Goshen, Oregon.
Goshen?
He'd been hitchhiking from Kent, Washington to Bakersfield, California when Kraft grabbed him up. Klux's skull was shattered by 31 blunt force blows. Ooh. He had been sodomized, beaten, and scoured. Scorecard entry, Portland blood.
What up, Portland blood?
Likely refers to the bloody crime scene. Kraft, he was in Oregon on business at the time and even visited a Lane County hospital for a bruised foot the day Cluck's body was found.
Stomped on him. 4 months later, August 20th, 1981, the partially clothed body of a 17-year-old male prostitute, Christopher Allen Williams, he was found in the San Bernardino Mountains. He'd taken phenobarbital and benzodiazepine, and he had tissue paper stuffed so deep in his nostrils that he choked on his own mucus and died.
Oh, man.
By early 82, Kraft's relationship with his partner, Jeff Seelig, was rocky, with frequent fights and brief breakups. They then started weekly counseling in Huntington Beach, June 22nd, to work things out.
Okay. See what happened there, huh? Well, even though with counseling and problems with his little buddy boy, Kraft kept on murdering. 29th of July, 1982, after complaints about a bad smell near the Hollywood Freeway in Echo Park. A California trans worker found the decomposing body of the 14-year-old Raymond Davis, a kid from Pittsburgh, California. He'd been last seen on 17th of June looking for his lost doggie.
Aww.
His wrist tied behind his back, like one of Kraft's earlier victims. Been strangled with a shoelace, as usual. Scorecard, dog. Likely refers to him. Just 40 feet away, the same crew found 16-year-old Robert Avila's body, also badly decomposed. Avila had been missing since the 21st of July. He was strangled with stereo speaker wire.
Damn. He then struck again November 1st, 1982, abducting and killing 24-year-old Arn McHale Lane from Modesto. Lane, he was hitchhiking towards Orange County looking for work. His body wasn't found until January of 1984 on a hillside near Ramona. 4 weeks later, November 29th, he dumped the semi-nude body of 26-year-old Brian Witcher along Interstate 5 near Wilsonville, Oregon. Witcher had high levels of alcohol and volume in his system, and he died from asphyxiation. Kraft, again, in Oregon on business during both of those murders.
Man, this guy is just nonstop. Holy shit. Wow. 3rd of December, 1982. 29-year-old. He was a carpenter. Anthony Jose Silveria vanished while hitchhiking toward Medford. Usually they say not to pick up a hitchhiker.
Right. It's like I'm picking him up.
His body turned up 2 weeks later, showing he'd been strangled, sodomized, and violated with foreign objects in his rectum. Kraft, he wrapped up his Oregon business trip the day Silveria died. That very next day, it was the 4th of December, he drove from Portland to Seattle. He wanted to visit some friends. He was wearing a military jacket with Silveria written on it.
Oh, jeez.
And then on the 5th of December, he flew to Grand Rapids, Michigan for work.
Well, in Grand Rapids, 2 days later, he met cousins Dennis Alt, who was age 24, and Christopher Schoenborn, age 20, at a seminar in the Amway Grand Plaza Hotel. They were seen chatting with him near midnight in the lobby. December 9th, their bodies were found in a field nearby, arranged in suggestive positions.
Oh, wow.
Both had been given alcohol and Valium before being sodomized and killed.
Jeez.
Alt died of asphyxiation, while Schoenborn, he was strangled with his belt.
Oh.
A ballpoint pen had been inserted into Schoenborn's urethra before his death.
Ow.
The scorecard lists them as GR2. Kraft, he left Schoenborn's keys and Silvera's jacket at the hotel. No. Oh, come on, guy.
All right, what the fuck? Wow, on the 8th of December, he flew back to Portland. Within 24 hours, he killed 19-year-old hitchhiker Lance Taggs, who was traveling from Tigard to a relative home in L.A.
Dude, that's all this dude is thinking about right now.
This is sad. His body was found the next day in Clackamas County, near where Witcher's body had been dumped. Taggs had alcohol and Valium in his system, and he died from suffocation after a sock was shoved in his trachea.
Jeez.
Oregon investigators started noticing a pattern here. Young men's bodies showing up near highways, alcohol, drugs in their systems, sodomized, weird shit stuck up their ass.
Well, they figured the killer lived out of state and only killed in Oregon during business trips. After the Silvera, Witcher, and Taggs murders, they reached out to other states. They shared the killer's M.O. And California police, they said, "We got the same pattern in our unsolved cases too, buddies." And then they ended up linking Kraft's 6 Oregon murders to his California killings.
Wow.
Didn't stop him, though, because his next murder, January 27th, 83, he abducted 21-year-old hitchhiker Eric Church. Smuggler smoke. Last seen hitchhiking from Orange County to Sacramento. His body dumped along I-605. At an autopsy, he showed he had been sodomized, had high levels of alcohol and Valium in his system. Rope marks on his wrist showed he fought his restraints before dying from ligature strangulation, and some blows to the head as well. Might as well.
This guy is 12th February 1983. Kraft killed 2 Buena Park men, 18-year-old Jeffrey Nelson and 20-year-old Roger Duvall. They were last seen after midnight outside a friend's house, saying they were grabbing some food. The only place open is Taco Bell. Nelson's nude body was found hours later near the Garden Grove Freeway, emasculated, strangled, and thrown from a vehicle.
Jeez.
Duvall's body turned up the next day down a mountainside near Mount Baldy in San Bernardino. He'd been bound, sodomized, strangled with the cord. Both had alcohol and propranolol in their systems. Their stomachs contained potato skins and grapes. Oh, at least they ate. Suggesting they'd eaten the same meal shortly before the deaths.
The hell did they go to eat?
Right.
Potato skins and grapes?
Give me number 9. Potato skins and grapes with lemon juice.
All right. That was just past 1 a.m., May 14th, 1983, when 2 California Highway Patrol officers, they spotted a Toyota Celica swerving all over Interstate 5 in Mission Vale, Orange County. The car made an illegal lane change, and the officers, figuring the driver might be drunk, they hit the old lights and pulled him over. Celica slowed down and stopped. Driver stepped out, casually dumping a beer bottle's contents onto the pavement.
Oh.
Officer,
1983.
well, still, Officer Michael Sterling walked up to the guy who said his name was Randy Kraft.
Oh, shit.
Sterling, he noticed Kraft's jeans were unbuttoned. Oh. Then he had Kraft do his field sobriety test, which he completely failed. So Sterling cuffed him, threw him in the back.
Meanwhile, Sergeant Michael Howard, Sterling's partner, he checked out the Celica. Passenger seat, he saw a young guy. He was slumped over. His eyes were closed. He was partially covered by a jacket. There's an empty Moosehead beer bottle and an open bottle of lorazepam pills where they were scattered all around his feet. Howard tried to wake the guy, but he didn't budge. Shook his arm. Still nothing. The guy's skin, it felt cold. And when Howard checked for a pulse, guess what? Not one. Uh-oh.
Ain't getting one of those.
Dude got busted.
A clear ligature mark circled his neck. Lipped in the jacket, Howard saw the guy's jeans were undone, exposing his genitals. His hands were tied with a shoelace, and his wrist had welt marks. The victim, he was later identified as Terry Lee Gambrell, was a 25-year-old Marine from El Toro Air Base, strangled to death.
How big was this guy? Because he killed a lot of Marines.
Just drugging him.
That's true.
Well, Kraft was initially booked for DUI, but detectives stole her into his car for a deeper search. I would hope so. In the back seat, they found a belt that matched the bruising on Gambrell's neck. Then they also turned up alcohol, tranquilizers, prescription drugs, and stimulants. Busted, bud.
Yeah, he's done. The passenger seat and carpet soaked in blood. Gambrell's body had no open wounds, though. The upholstery was sent for forensic testing, which confirmed the blood it was human. Under the carpet, they found an envelope stuffed with over 50 photos of young men in pornographic poses, many looking like they're either passed out or dead. In the trunk, there was a ring binder with a handwritten list of 61 coded entries. Oh,
61.
This guy.
They then went to search his home, and they turned up even more damning evidence. Clothes and belongings from young men who'd been murdered over the past decade. Fibers from a rug in his place matched ones found on his victim, Scott Hughes. The couch in his living room was the same one in the photos from his car.
All right.
They also found a roll of film with shots of victims Eric Church and Roger Duvall sitting in Kraft's car.
Oh, jeez.
One image clearly showing a ligature mark on Duvall's neck. And he was taking pictures of these guys dead.
Wow, the coded list of 61 terms found in Kraft's trunk? Well, investigators believe it's a scorecard of his victims, as we've been saying throughout this whole damn show. Some entries are straightforward, like EDM for Edward Daniel Moore, or Vince M for Vincent Mestes. Others hint at torture, mutilation, and where victims were last seen. For example, Marine Head BP likely refers to Mark Marsh, a Marine found decapitated after hitchhiking near Buena Park. Then you have Golden Sales. It points to Craig Jonitis, whose body was dumped in the Golden Sales hotel parking lot. Makes sense.
The list, like we said, also includes at least 4 double murders, like the GR2 for Alt and Schoenburn in Grand Rapids, or 2-in-1 Beach for Jeffrey Nelson and Roger Duvall. 2 entries, 2-in-1 Hitch and 2-in-1 MV to PL. They haven't been tied to specific cases yet, or ever. Investigators think 2 of Kraft's known victims, Eric Church and Terry Gambrell, might not even be on the scorecard, since they're pretty new.
Right.
Since it's coded, Church could be listed under an unrecognized entry.
Right.
Gambrill might not be there, obviously, because he was in the car when they got him.
Jeez.
This list, it suggests that covers at least 65 to possibly 67 victims.
Son of a bitch.
That is insane.
It is 16th of May, 1983. Kraft was charged with Gambrill's murder. And by September, detectives had interviewed over 700 witnesses and collected more than 250 pieces of evidence, linking old Randy Kraft to 15 additional moitas between 72 of December and February of 1983. Damn. On the 8th of September.
15 in 2 months.
That's crazy. No, 11 years.
Oh, right. I was thinking 82.
On December 10th.
15 in 11 years.
So,
That's just additional.
on the 8th of September, he was formally charged with those 15 murders, plus 2 counts of sodomy and 1 of emasculation.
His trial kicked off September 26, 1988 in Orange County with Judge Donald McCartan presiding. The prosecution came out swinging, calling nearly 160 witnesses to the stand and presenting over 1,000 pieces of evidence. They had everything: bloodstains, hair, fibers from his Long Beach home and his car, fingerprints on glass shards from the murder scene of a guy named Hall. They found negatives and photos hidden in Kraft's car showing victims either dead, drugged, or passed out.
Wow.
They also had the belt used to strangle a victim, yes, plus prescription drugs and a buck knife found in his vehicle.
Damn, that's some creepy stuff. Well, on top of that bullshit, they pulled out work records, travel itineraries,
There we go.
gas receipts that put Kraft in the exact spots where victims were snatched or dumped. And then,
Why are you keeping gas? I guess it's probably for his job, but
Right.
stupid. You
Well-
don't get your gas receipts while you're murdering people, dude.
right, and then there were personal items, stuff belonging to the victims that Kraft had kept. They was found in his possession after his arrests.
His defense, they went hard on alibis and pointing fingers at other suspects. They painted him as this upstanding, articulate guy, a hard-working member of society who couldn't possibly be a killer.
They found a dead body in his car when he got pulled over. Holy shit.
Jeez. They admitted the 16 men were murdered, but insisted, look, these guys were victims of someone, just not Randy Kraft.
Oh my gosh.
15, maybe you can argue that, but not the clear dead guy in the passenger
Right.
seat. They leaned to the fact that investigators initially thought 2 other serial killers, Patrick Kearney and William Bonin, were responsible for some of these. Their argument was basically, you've got no solid proof Kraft did any of it, besides the dead guy in his car.
Right. Wow. This sham of a trial dragged on for 13 months. It was most expensive in Orange County history.
Aren't they always?
It came time for closing arguments on the 29th of April, 1889.
Went back 100 years.
It came time for closing arguments on April 29th, 1989. Both sides went all in. Prosecution laid out every piece of physical and circumstantial evidence, hammering home how it all pointed to old Randy Kraft. Defense was like, "Whoa, you just heard prosecution just tell you that, but
It's all lies.
it's all circumstantial." He said the murders were connected, but accusing the prosecution of dodging the truth. Oh, the jury took 11 days to deliberate.
Holy
What?
shit. 1,000 pieces of evidence, I guess.
And on May 12th, 1989, they came back with a verdict: guilty on 16 counts of murder, 1 count of sodomy, and 1 count of emasculation.
Apparently, they let him off on the other count of sodomy for some reason.
Right, it's weird.
When it came to sentencing, Judge McCartan didn't hold back. November 29th, 89, he said, I've sent 8 or 9 people to death row before, but all their aggravating circumstances combined don't come close to Kraft's record. If anyone deserves the death penalty, it's him.
Okay.
The penalty phase started June 5th, 1989, and went until August. Prosecution brought up more murders they were sure Kraft committed in Oregon and Michigan.
He did.
Ones he hadn't even been tried for in Orange County.
Right. The defense once again called that highly speculative.
Scumbags.
They tried to argue Kraft's brain wasn't even right.
Oh, here we go.
It showed PET scans suggesting abnormalities in his frontal lobes that mess with his impulse control. The prosecution, they weren't buying it. So they told the jury, there's nothing wrong with Kraft's mind, except that he gets off on killing. They even pointed out that his family and friends couldn't believe he was a murderer, which just proved what a good salesman he is.
August 11th, 1989, the jury decided his fate. Death. 3 months later, McCartan made it official. The California Supreme Court upheld the sentence in 2000.
Jeez.
Now, it gets a little murky because there's evidence, both circumstantial and DNA, That makes people think not all the murders pinned on Kraft were done by one person, like the beach one.
Right.
The prosecution suspected an accomplice.
I bet that what's guy, Siegel, or whatever his name is.
We'll get to that.
Moving 200-pound bodies, tossing them from a moving car, going 50 miles an hour without being seen. That's tough for one guy.
Right.
At one crime scene, footprints in the sand near John Lara's body at Sunset Beach in 1975 clearly showed two people. Then you got Eric Church. Semen on his body didn't match Kraft's blood type.
Oh.
Plus, those photos of victims in Kraft's car. What do you got to make of that? Well, someone had to develop them, but no photo lab ever reported Kraft's gruesome images. And he didn't even have a darkroom or the know-how to even have a darkroom.
Right.
Did he have a photographer or
a Polaroid?
Selig, a photographer?
I don't know. During the trial, the prosecution admitted they didn't charge Kraft with some murders they were sure he committed because the evidence suggested more than one person was involved. They found Church's photos in Kraft's car and his distinctive Norelco razor at Kraft's house, but the DNA didn't add up. The prosecution had their eye on Kraft's former lover, Jeff Graves. They lived together from 71 to 76, which was when 16 of these murders happened.
Okay.
Graves, he was questioned about one murder in 75 and backed up part of Kraft's alibi. But when they pressed him again in 83, he said something cryptic. I'm not going to pay for it, you know. Graves died of AIDS in 1987, just as police were gearing up to dig deeper.
Into his ass.
Still, you still dig deeper.
Right. Then there's this guy, Bob Jackson.
Bobby.
He's a small-time crook who told journalist Dennis McDougal in 2000 that he helped Kraft kill two hitchhikers, one in Wyoming, 1975, another in Colorado, 1976.
Ones that weren't mentioned.
He also claimed Kraft's scorecard, which was a list of 61 entries, yes, only covered his memorable kills, and that Kraft's body count was closer to 100. Oh, man. Oh, McDougal. He told the police. McDougal took this to the Popo with recordings, but investigators couldn't verify the claims. They questioned Jackson, got him to admit to a mental institution. What? They questioned Jackson. They admitted him to a mental institution and never charged him. There's no hard evidence.
You know nothing about that. They said, get your ass in the mental institution.
Right, you crazy motherfucker.
Well, Kraft wasn't happy about McDougal's book, Angel of Darkness. 1993, he sued McDougal and the publisher for $62 million.
What's he going to do with $62 million?
Saying it trashed his name and ruined his chances of overturning his conviction. California Supreme Court tossed the lawsuit in 1994.
Yeah, like, fuck.
Get out of here, guy.
Well, by 1988, investigators linked 43 of the 61 scorecard entries to known victims or unidentified bodies from 12 years before Kraft's arrest, leaving 18 entries tied to unknown victim. Since then, 3 entries, which is Navy White, Iowa, and Harry Carey, have been...
It's Hari. It's
Harikari?
Harikari. It's like a Japanese suicide ritual thing.
Oh, wow. All 3 of these have been connected to 4 murders from 74 and 75. Another entry, 76, likely refers to Keith Jackson, who was a British tourist killed in 1974. Possibly the England entry on the scorecard. That leaves 15 entries tied to 17 unknown victims. Complicated by Kraft's crimes spanning multiple states and cryptic scorecard notes.
Yep. For example, Navy White likely points to James Sean Cox, a 17-year-old Navy apprentice. He was last seen hitchhiking in 74, found dead in Rancho Santa Fe wearing his white uniform. Oh, jeez. Iowa could be Oral Alfred Stewart Jr., an 18-year-old Marine born in Iowa, or Michael Ray Schlitt, a 17-year-old from Cedar Rapids, Iowa.
Either or.
Stewart's body found in Long Beach in 1974. That was unidentified until 2012.
Damn.
Schlitt's body found in Laguna Hills in 74. That wasn't ID'd until 2023.
Holy shit.
Jeez. Both of those deaths match Kraft's M.O. The Harakiri entry might refer to David Michael Sant, stabbed to death in Long Beach in 1975. His body posed like the ritual suicide practice.
Son of a bitch. This guy's a freak. Randy Kraft is not the only guy who has been referred to as a freeway killer. We already mentioned Patrick Kearney.
Sure did.
Although some call him the freeway killer, he was mostly called the trash bag killer. Then there's William Bonin, who I already had an episode about.
Only a couple episodes ago. Well, a couple months ago now.
Well, back in 1980, William Bonin and 4 of his buddies got nabbed for a string of killings they call the freeway murders. The way they dumped the bodies were eerily similar to how Randy Kraft was doing it. Bonin had a real cruel streak. He tortured his victims, but he never used booze or drugs to mess with them. He'd get brutal. He'd stab them, sometimes in their genitals with a knife. And he even killed one guy that way. But unlike some other sickos, he didn't hack up the bodies. Most of his victims, well, they strangled with their own T-shirts. Bonin, he went after younger kids, mostly 12 to 19. Way younger than the folks Kraft targeted.
Sure did. As of today, as we say our words we're saying, Kraft, he's still on death row at San Quentin, still denying he had anything to do with any of the murders.
How the fuck's he still on death row? Holy shit.
It's been 81 years.
It's been 30 fucking years. This dude's on death row. Why can't they get him in the dead?
Why can't they dead him?
Look, he's just a little guy.
He's a fucking weirdo.
Why does it take so long for someone to be on death row? I want to know.
Nothing new about him, so apparently he's just rotting in there.
Why does he look like Quentin Tarantino?
Kind of does, huh? Hilarious. Yeah, that's Randy Kraft, the second of three
Yeah, this guy's a...
so-called freeway killers operating at the same time in California. In the same place, damn near.
He like barely did anything sexual with them. I mean, yeah, he was shoving shit up their asses and shit, but very few of them were raped or anything like that.
He sodomized a few.
Wow.
Next week, we'll be back for some more mafia stuff. After we already rounded out the actual head bosses of the family, and I'll move into some of the lower guys. Maybe kick it off with Casso, since I've heard so much of him and throughout these last few episodes that we've done about these guys. But either way, it'll be mafia time next week. And moving on with some more Outlaws remastered and right back to serial killers to round out the next month. So other than that, you guys know what to do. YouTube, subscribe, Apple, Spotify, share with your friends, leave a review and comment, all that other stuff. And we'll see you next week for some more mafia on Outlaws and Gunslingers. We're the month of Michiganders with